Coming up next on Democracy Does, the Civic Power Playbook.
We need to educate ourselves on how we do move forward. Cuts, policies, legislation, learn about it and know how does it affect us. And then be able to sit down and talk. Just like the platform that you're using, we need people like you.
That's up next. Welcome to Democracy Does, the Civic Power Playbook, a podcast that cuts through the noise to explain what's really happening in our democracy. Each episode breaks down key issues with insight from policy experts and change makers, giving you clear tips to take action. Whether you're fired up or feeling stuck, you're in the right place to get informed and get inspired, because democracy works best when we all participate. I am so grateful and excited to have our guest here today, Rochelle Kithkard. She has had a really impressive career. She served in the U.S. military. She was in the U.S. Navy. She worked for the federal government. She worked for NIH. And she knows about a lot of what's happening in terms of what it is to be a public servant, what's happening right now. And she's currently a member of several community organizations dedicated to information and civic engagement. So thank you so much for being with us, Rochelle.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. You know, we met because we were both on a webinar that meets weekly about what's happening and how a lot of people need to be informed. And I wanted to know, what do you think is the biggest issue right now that is plaguing this country? And we can even get granular and talk about your community.
Yeah.
And what's the impact?
I know what we're doing, and I'll start locally, is that after the elections in November of last year, we pulled some numbers to see people, being engaged. Did they vote? And where I am, the numbers were a little over 50% people who were eligible to vote voted. So we got together, the organization that I'm part of, we pared down, and there's like 6 of us. We got together and we're like, how do we get these people out voting?
That's great. What's the name of it, by the way? What's the name of it?
I'm in Newport News, Virginia. Newport News, Virginia.
The name of your organization?
But our name of our organization is League of Women Voters. That's one of them. And then I'm also in a sorority, which we do work too. Yeah. So that was one of the things. But the issue we feel is that people don't understand the issues that affect them. So if they don't understand the issues or know what the issues are, then they're not going to go out. They may not go out and vote. So that's where the civic engagement comes into play. We want to get people engaged. You might not be, this issue may not affect you, but this issue may. So we're trying to look at legislation in this area in the state of Virginia and talk to people about the legislation that's on the books that will affect them. And then hopefully that'll get them more actively involved, participating, also interacting with their local elected officials, and get them out there to vote for their issues.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think there's so many people that don't know what's going on?
If you look at what's going on now, people don't trust our elected officials. Where it's a game of who is going to come out better. So how does that affect me? That you're making money, or that you are, you're downing the other party or whatever. That doesn't affect my life. That doesn't put food on my table. That doesn't put money in my pocket. That doesn't give me a job. That doesn't leave me a legacy for my family. So I think that people are like, whatever. And unfortunately, our ancestors and our elders, we always had to deal with, we had to take, the best of the worst.
That's right.
And then we just had to move on. So, and unfortunately, a lot of people and a lot of young people in our community don't engage, I believe, because of that reason. It's like, we've handed down that legacy of, well, we'll just go along to get along, but we'll survive. And then, our children are saying, well, you made it, even though things were bad, and there was a time when, our ancestors and elders couldn't vote. So, and then we still had to deal with what was going on. So unfortunately, that mindset is not to our advantage, but we have to make people understand that it will benefit us in the long run if we do get out there and vote.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the dynamics that I noticed is that in your area in Virginia, which I plan to visit to do a
Oh, okay.
town
Oh,
hall.
come on then.
Yes, I
Come on
would
then.
love that. That's going to be part of the program. But
Okay.
I noticed that Bobby Scott is your representative. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you have
Yes.
someone who is engaged, but then
Yes.
not that far away, there is Representative Jen Kiggins. And I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that she voted
Virginia.
in line with the other
Mm-hmm.
party to eliminate huge swaths of the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the area that you are in, Newport News, has a
Mm-hmm.
high population of people who work for the federal government. And
Exactly.
a lot of people are African American. A lot of us
Mm-hmm.
work for the federal government. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are going to lose their jobs.
Yes. 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 Well, one of the things that, or one of the issues that people feel a little bit more comfortable with, is that the majority of the federal government is the Department of Defense.
Mhm.
And of course, they're bolstering Department of Defense. So we haven't seen a huge difference yet. And we're hoping that it stays that way.
Okay, that's good.
But like me, I worked remotely. So, my department in the DC area and in the what we, Metro DC was cut. So we have people that are a little bit maybe like towards Richmond and all that. They were probably more affected by the cuts.
Mhm.
So right now, I will say we feel that there may not be more cuts to this area, but there's still going to be, the bill that was passed, so there's going to be higher costs. That's still going to affect. They're still going to affect us and our families.
There's also going to be an impact on Medicaid and SNAP.
Yes, 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 yes.
And that, again, is going to affect communities not only
Mm-hmm.
locally, but
Mm-hmm.
across the country.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about getting people aware of what is happening? How are you going to say, hey, this may not affect you, but it will affect your neighbor, and that will have a
Right.
ripple effect throughout our community?
Right.
As a member of the League of Women Voters, what are your thoughts about next steps and how you can get people to care and engage with
Mhm.
what's happening and to care about their neighbors?
We are looking at ways that we deliver information because of generations. I have two daughters that are in their mid to late 30s. And so, I asked them, how can we get this information out? The league and several other groups are just looking at different ways of delivering that information. Do we do it on social media? Can we do it in person? Can we do it through online services like Zoom or whatever? So that right now we are working with other groups that their primary audience are these different generations, younger people, seniors, veterans. Of course, we have a lot of veterans here. We have a lot of retired veterans here. So we're looking at how do they get their information.
That's right.
That's the way to engage them, because I'm an outsider. I'm not from this area. So I may not, as you would say, speak the language. So we have to be able to go into these communities that people are not familiar with us. We are not familiar with them. We have to be able to go into those communities and engage with who they do trust. because there's going to be a level of trust. If I don't trust you, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to vote for whatever you're voting for. So we have to build that trusting relationship in order to be able to have the conversation about what's going on in their world. And they may think it's a bad word. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Those are the three big things that we work with within our group, within our groups.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because think about the cuts that are impacting
Yes.
certain communities the most. You have retired, you have veterans, you have
Mm-hmm.
people of color. They are the
Mm-hmm.
ones who are receiving the
The,
bad end of the stick in terms
exactly.
of these cuts. I love the fact that you are so dedicated to that type of outreach and being sensitive in terms of meeting people where they are. With that in mind, how are you encouraging people to empower themselves? So a lot of people are going to be without benefits, without food assistance. There's going to
Right.
be some economic insecurity there.
Right.
What are your recommendations for how someone can empower themselves to weather the storm for the
Yeah.
next couple of years?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be rocky and people don't realize it yet.
I know. I know. What one of the principles, one of the seven principles of Kwanzaa is self-determination.
Mhm.
And for the people who look like me, people in the African American communities, those even in communities of color, we have to be self determined. We have to be in community with like minded people. My daughter and I, my youngest daughter and I, we've talked about, with her being a school teacher, school lunches, school food programs are going to be cut off. How are we going to help those families? I don't, I mean, I have a granddaughter, 2-year-old granddaughter, but I mean, we're okay. But I said, how are we going to help them? We have to be in community. That's one thing we have to get used to. I believe that over time and over the years, we felt pretty good about where we are. Some of us have done well. We've
Yes.
done well, and we've gotten away from community. We have to go back to that, and we have to be determined that no matter what, I know the cuts, they're going to hurt, but have we survived? We didn't get here. Look at what has happened in our ancestry, our ancestors, our elders, what they went through. Did they survive? They must have. We're here. We have to be determined, self-determined. We need to educate ourselves on how we do move forward. Cuts, policies, legislation, learn about it and know how does it affect us. And then be able to sit down and talk, just like the platform that you're using. We need people like you that
Thank
are
you.
getting that word out and talking to people. I want to look at people, I want to listen to people that look like me, because you're going to know more than anyone else. How can we do this? And
Mhm.
I think we're going to survive. We're going to get through this. It's going to take a minute. Hopefully it'll be within my lifetime, but I also want to leave that legacy for my daughter and my grandchildren, my granddaughter right now, and hopefully future granddaughters and my grandnieces and nephews. I want to leave that legacy. Did we power through? Yes, we did, because we were determined to do it.
Yes. One of the last questions I like to ask people is I call it the power play, since this is the power playbook. Do you have 1 to 3 recommendations of what someone can do who feels as if they are lost? Because I interviewed a couple of people who said, I don't know what to do. I'm looking at this mess. I don't want to go out to protest. What
Right,
can I do? What would you
right.
recommend if someone came up to you and said, Rochelle, I have no idea what to do?
Talk to your local elected officials, and talk to your state representatives, and talk to your federal, like this, your senators and your US representatives. You can sit in your house and make a phone call. You can get online and send them something. Representative Bobby Scott is always here. He knows this community. His family's from this community. Like, his brother-in-law is a dentist here. So people know him. engage with him. You don't have to be out in the streets and protesting. It's a positive, but if you don't want to go out there, that's fine. So that's one of the things, is to talk to your all of your representatives. Know the legislation within your local community and your state. Virginia, they put everything is posted. Everybody, a push of a button, you can get on your phone, you can get on your computer, so you know that legislation. Know what's going on. Know what's going on. And the third thing is be in community with like-minded people.
And what does that look like when you say be in community with like-minded people?
Is to engage, just like I said, we, with the League of Women Voters, it's diverse. There's a lot going on. But if you know Williamsburg, there's not there's not as many people it's that look like me that are in that league, but they're very welcoming. It's very satisfactory, to work with them. So we got together, for those of us who are talking about the same thing, who want to get more people engaged within our own community. We decided to become a community with my sorority. There's things that they're doing, that I can be in community with them. My daughters, family. Family's still a community. So if we're talking about the same thing that is going to make us better, that's who you want to be with. That's who you want to have a discussion with.
Okay.
That's who you want to get out here and actively engage and do things with.
Excellent. Excellent. And I just want to expound on the know what is going on in terms of policy. Is there one specific website or location where you get your information that you would say, that you would recommend to others, where you would say, hey, that's a great site, you should check this out? Do you have a site or anything that you would recommend?
Oh my goodness, I'm on so many. I get on so many. Of course, YouTube has a wealth of information that I engage in. I like to go to on our our state websites.
Yeah, what's
As
that?
far as legislation, General Assembly. So
Okay.
I do get information from there. But
Okay.
if I could pare down to one, I will say this. That is a good one to start with. I'll say
Okay.
it like that. That's a good one to start with. And then it all depends on, whatever your issues are. So we have like housing, affordable housing, equality. So I can go from that site and then pair out to other ones.
Excellent. That's great. And one last question. Well, I have two. This always happens
Okay.
whenever I enjoy speaking to somebody. So what if someone says, I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like wading through a website. They complain and they may be adversely impacted by these policies, but then they say, oh, I don't want to have to look through anything. What would you say to that?
I would say if you are in community with like-minded people, get together and share. If you don't want to wade through, looking for things, or if you are with groups or within community with people, you should be sharing that information. When I get on the Friday power lunch, oh, I'm sitting here, I'm texting stuff to our groups all the time, like, this is what they're talking about, or get on this site if you can, but we should be sharing information. We should be sharing resources that we come in contact with.
Excellent. Excellent. And how do you stay hopeful? It sounds like you do it.
This talking to people like you, getting on different, joining different webinars and sessions, being in groups that people, invite me to or I'm aware of. I look at my children and say, I can't give up because of them. And believe me, you get those days, And I just can't. I look at my granddaughter and I think, there is no way that I want her to have a legacy of what's going on. Why should, her life be relegated back 100, 200, 300 years or generations ago, why should she be relegated to that because of other people's mindset that they don't want to get past? So I'm staying in the fight. I need to probably fight harder, but right now I'm comfortable about where I am, and I feel that I'm giving something. I'm giving something. I'm helping people, and so I'm definitely could do more. But if people can just take away what I share, and I can take from them what they share, then we're going to be all right. We are going to be all right.
You're doing a lot. Don't be hard on yourself. Thank you for saying that. But you're doing a lot. Some people aren't doing anything, and
Yeah.
if you're reaching just one person, that's making
Yeah. Right, right. Yeah. I was my ladies, we talked this when we were texting this morning. So some of them are going to be on the power lunch, but and they're very active, they're very active canvassing and doing things around voter education and registration. So I feel encouraged. I really do, even though every day it might be small, but every day I feel encouraged.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
awesome. Every step counts, and we have
It
to believe that.
does. It really does. Oh my goodness, it's something.
Wow.
Oh goodness. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you
And
so
thank you
much.
for your
This was
service that you're
Oh,
doing.
absolutely. I really appreciate what you're doing, because
Mhm.
to get people engaged and motivated, and to that
Mhm.
persistence, it means a lot. So
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
grateful for you,
thank you.
Rochelle Kithkard. Thank you. It was
Yes.
an absolute pleasure, and we will continue to follow you. If people are in the Newport News area and want to learn
Yes.
more about the
Yes.
Newport News League of Women Voters, they can look you
Mhm.
guys up. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. It's the League of Women Voters, Williamsburg area. It's
Perfect.
Williamsburg.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
thank you.
hopeful we can get one here in Newport News, but we'll see.
It's a
But
start.
yeah,
You're the
yeah, it
start.
is a start. It is a start. Yep, yep. And there's a lot of fraternal organizations here people can engage with. NAACP is very active here. So those groups, and there are other groups, that are more that are diverse, that that are in this area that we engage with also. So look us up. Look us up.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you again. It was an
Thank
absolute
you.
pleasure.
Take care. See you later.
And now it's time for the Power Play. Here are Rochelle's tips on what you can do to feel empowered. Overall, the big goal: go local. Know your elected officials and hold them accountable. See what they're doing and learn about policies being made in your backyard. Also, visit your state legislature's website to research an issue that is bothering you and see what's going on. And finally, if the last thing you want to do after a long day of work is get on the computer and do more research, simply find a community that supports you and get together, talk about your frustrations, and find a way to work together to make things better. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you're feeling a little more hopeful, a little less stuck, and maybe even inspired to take action, because democracy does work when we all participate. Want more? You can go to my website, democracydoes.com, and sign up to get our newsletter, alerts on when our next episode drops, and as a bonus, you'll get a free community engagement toolkit with ideas on how to get involved at your comfort level. Let's get in the game together. Until next time, I'm your host, Robin Hamilton.